What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our SEC football channel. We've shown you the 2020 schedule for the Florida Gators. Now let's take a look at what their projected record is based off of this schedule. And I want to be clear that this is not a prediction. Our predictions come a long time from now. This is just a projection based on their odds to win each game based off of their schedule. So it kind of just tells you really what they should do against this schedule, and maybe they do a lot better, maybe they do a lot worse, but this is what they kind of should do against this schedule. So here is the schedule again. You take a look at it, and here's our scale on our odds to win. So you've got a 99% chance, 80, 60, 40, 20, or 1%, or it's a 50-50 game, and a 50-50 game is a game that I just could see going either way. Again, explaining this kind of in terms of a spread. An 80% game is going to be a game where the spread is more than a touchdown. A 60% game is going to be a game where the spread's more than a field goal, like 4 to 7, 8 points, somewhere in there. Just kind of an idea of what we're doing here. And a lot of these games shouldn't be right at 80 and shouldn't be right at 60, but we can't have 50 different colors here, or it'd get really complicated. So we get into the schedule and we start with the games that they should absolutely win. 99% chance to win these games against Eastern Washington, South Alabama, and New Mexico State. And against some games, maybe it would be more like 98% or 97%, but we're just kind of rounding it off here to the games that they absolutely should win. They should have absolutely no problem winning any of these games. And again, I think they roll in all three of these, no doubt about it. And they have a pretty soft non-conference schedule. You look at these three games, and then, of course, Florida State at the end of the year. But they should be able to take care of business. And you could even throw a team like Vanderbilt in this category. But, it's a conference game, and it's even on the road. So I never want to put a conference game at 99%, unless it's like Ohio State versus Rutgers, maybe that one. But we go to the 80% games now. South Carolina, a game that I think Florida absolutely should be able to take care of business in. They're playing at home. South Carolina might be pretty good. I know they went on the road and beat Georgia last year, but Florida should be able to win that game. On the road at Ole Miss, a little bit tricky, but I think Florida is just still clearly the better team in that matchup. But, these 80% games for Florida, we could see an upset here. And upsets happen all the time when the spread's 10 points. So this doesn't mean these teams have no chance. Again, we're just kind of looking at the general odds probability to win each game. Vanderbilt, like I said, probably higher than 80%, but we're going to put them at 80%. Missouri, I know they've had Florida's number, but I think Florida has kind of figured that out. They've gotten over that and got them at home. And then Florida State, it's a rivalry game, but you have to look at recent history when you're doing this. Florida has owned them the last couple of years. Don't really see that changing this year. Maybe it's closer, but I still think Florida wins that game. And now we go to the two games that I think Florida will be favored in, but we're talking more like 6, 7, 8 point spread, something like that. Kentucky, I think Kentucky's going to be pretty good this year. I don't think that's a game that Florida's just going to be able to walk in there and roll over the Wildcats. Kentucky's played Florida really tough the last several years. They've got a lot coming back. That is going to be a difficult matchup, in my opinion, for Florida. They're favored. Again, I've got them at 60%. They're the better team, I think, but Kentucky is good enough to make that a game. And then Tennessee on the road. If this game was at home for Florida, I'd probably have it in the 80% category. But playing on the road at Tennessee, a team that finished the year hot last year, a team that is going to be out, trying to prove something, trying to prove that they belong in the SEC East race, that's going to be a big game, and I think the spread's going to be closer to a touchdown in this one. And so I'm going to put 60% on that game. Now we go to what's left here. We have two games left. Both of these games, in my opinion, are 50-50 games that could go either way. Now, if I had to say who I favored in these games right now, I'd probably favor favor Florida at home against LSU, and I'd probably favor Georgia against Florida. But it's very close, and both of these games are games that I could see going either way. If Florida wins both of these games, like we've shown you here, if they take care of business in all the games that they're favored in, and they win these two games, you're talking about a team that finishes the regular season undefeated, goes to the SEC championship, and has a chance to make the college football playoff. And it's definitely possible. I mean, it's just getting over these two games, and you just can't have a slip up in one of those other games, like on the road at Tennessee against Kentucky. And Dan Mullen has proven that Florida is one of the top programs, and they've really taken care of business, especially last year against those lesser opponents. So your projected record, the projected record for Florida based off of these percentages is 9-3. So our projections, would have them splitting these 50-50 games, and also probably the odds would say that you'd split the two 60% games and throw another one in there, and so they would win 2 out of those 3. And then just the odds would catch up to you, and you're going to lose somewhere else along the way. So 9-3, the projected record for Florida. I think that would be a disappointment for the Gators. I think they have high hopes. I think they expect to win more than 9 games. I personally probably am going to pick Florida to win 10 or 11 games, just an early projection. I don't know for sure what I'll predict, but I'm almost positive I'll pick them to do better than 9-3. I mean, this team I think is better than that, but again, you just play the odds here, and if you've watched the other videos, it's very tough when you go through these odds. It's very tough for a team to get to 10 or 11 wins. 9-3 is actually about as good as it gets doing these projections. So 9-3 is actually really good. I know it doesn't sound good for Florida fans, but when you're playing the odds like this, 9-3 is actually really, really good. And I think teams that finish 9-3 in this are the teams that you could say are real playoff contenders, top 5 teams, things like that. If you do 9-3 or better in the projection. So Florida 9-3, that's what the odds project the Gators to do in 2020. Thank you for watching this video. If you're an SEC football fan, please subscribe to the channel. Leave us your thoughts down in the comments below. And for the latest in SEC football, keep it right here.